There we go. Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to touch base. Keith and I were having a conversation, and what I thought I would do is sit down and have coffee talk with Keith. His idea. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so what I thought I'd do is we had talked in the sales meeting about having the appraisers back in to come talk about what was going on right now, and I thought what might be easier, since Keith is here, just to have a little conversation with him about the economy, the community, what's going on, supply, demand, appraisal prices, what they're looking for, what's pre-Harvey, what's post-Harvey. So real quick, I just want to say thank you, welcome. And so let's talk a little bit, if we can, about kind of what we were talking about just a few minutes ago about the economy in general, about what you're seeing on where it was kind of been flat with regard to appraisals, and you're seeing a little bit of difference now.
Well, we were going over the idea that prior to Harvey, in the last 24 months, since we've been having this inventory issue, especially here in the Beaumont part of the world, it appeared that as long as, even though properties were selling very fast and we were getting multiple offers on a lot of properties, the values were increasing, but not quite at the pace that one might expect. Even though they were selling very fast and you were getting multiple offers, the values were coming in somewhere, sometimes a little bit high, sometimes a little bit low, but usually somewhere in the middle between the asking price and the bid price. That was okay for a while, but now here recently it appears that we're starting to see more and more houses where the appraised value hitting the bid price is more and more commonplace, which gives us some indication that perhaps we're about to start seeing a little bit of an increase in the average sales price and accepted sales price and closing price, which should be reflected in our MLS statistics in the next couple of quarters. So
your information looks backwards,
yes,
and you grab that in order to create a value in real time, while realtors may be out there doing value based on demand and in the future,
trying to project a little bit.
Getting those two to match there's a little lead time, maybe here in Southeast Texas a little bit longer than it does in other locations, but what you're seeing is that increasing, because I can tell you the information from the board has told us that yes, inventory is going down.
It's still going down.
And what we're seeing in offices around Southeast Texas is instead of 2 to 3 offers, we're getting 5 to 7. Yeah. And that may be what it's taken, because now all that does when you're getting all those offers is removing variables. So you've got a cash buyer, no closing costs, and will close fast, and that may be pushing those up.
Starting to push it up, and I think we're starting to see the data seem to indicate we're starting to see that be reflected in the sales prices.
That's
going
great
forward.
to hear. So let me ask you this: do you differentiate, or are you seeing any differentiation between pre-Harvey homes and post-Harvey? Meaning, is when you're seeing these increases, are any of them on renovated homes?
Renovated homes. That's the $1 million question right now, and I think, having talked to some of the colleagues and other guys around town, the best way to go into that type of question is by separating things into areas where the Harvey flooding was an extraordinary event, a one-time thing.
Got it.
One offer.
I see what you're saying.
We have never even had water in the yard, and we got 3 feet, or whatever.
Okay.
And so we rebuilt, and you see things like that. In neighborhoods like that, both in Port Arthur and some of the places in Beaumont that we've been able to look at, a little bit over in the Orange, Little Cypress area, that data seems to indicate that, once it's fixed up and hits the market, the resale market on the other side of the storm, they're getting numbers that are at least as good as they were before the storm.
Great.
For similarly conditioned homes and stuff like that. And in some cases maybe even a little bit more. So in those areas, we're getting more confident that the flooding issue is not going to be a long-term issue.
We're seeing the same thing
okay,
in the sales that we had. I just didn't know if that was able to apply to the market. But then you're talking Bevel Oaks kind of situation is still up in the air.
Now we're still good. of course, all of this is the preface to all of any conversation about flooded houses. The responsible thing is to understand and remember that we are very early in this game.
Yeah, right.
And the data is, while we're starting to get more and more coming in, and every day we get another closed sale, we get another listing, we start to, and the puzzle starts to take shape. In areas where it was a one-off deal, we seem to have a little more data than we do in places of total devastation like River Oaks and Northwest Forest.
Okay.
But hey, at the end of the day, this whole thing could take another turn, it could take another direction. But the data that we're seeing to date would seem to indicate in those certain areas that it's not going to be a major.
We're seeing a lot of progress there, which is good. And thank God, economic fundamentals in Southeast Texas are strong, and so demand is strong, and a lot of the renovations that we're seeing have been nice stuff, nice quality work.
Which gets us into the second part of that conversation, which is the River Oaks, Pinewood, Bevel Oaks, Artesian Acres, places with histories of flooding over time, and that's where we have a little less information, and we're starting to get some returns, starting to see some data start to come in. Some listings are hitting we've got some really good test cases now, looks like, in both Pinewood and Northwest Forest, where we've got 2 or 3 houses now that have been fixed up, very nice. They're on the market. The asking prices are on the aggressive side of things. In the next couple months, I would think we're probably going to start to have enough data gathered up to where we'll start to see a direction on those areas. So
we'll have another coffee talk.
Another coffee talk and talk about that. And they're going to say, "Man, we were wrong."
No, I don't think so. I mean, and everything that we're seeing, and I met with an economic development group yesterday. Everything that we're seeing is there's still big projects that are coming here. There's a lot of demand for the homes. While we're still seeing some inventory at the $500,000 plus level, even the 100 to 300 range is the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot.
And there's a lot of activity in that marketplace, and there's still a lot of demand. So that's really good.
That's good.
Okay, so let me lead with this too. Has there been anything after the storm by the TALB or any of your appraiser group that's put any more allowances or restrictions on what you're doing? Is there anything that the realtors out there can communicate to their customers that will help them in putting their houses back together and getting them on the market?
Nothing per se from the appraisal end of things. We tend to be just observers of the market and reporters of the market. The lenders, they're in the business of lending money, and so yes, they want a piece of collateral that's going to be 100% and doesn't they don't have to worry about it, and they know that it was fixed up right and it was repaired and all the necessary work was done. I do not know to what extent they go as far as requiring reports and stuff like that, windstorm certificates, mold reports, things like that. As appraisers, we make a lot of assumptions about repairs because we don't want to have that expertise or that information, because that puts us off gets us out of our scope of work and expertise. But so we make assumptions that it was repaired and it looks like it was done right. It looks like it was done well. Obviously, any documentation that can be provided from the seller, here's the mold deal, here's our bid, here's what they did behind the walls, they replaced this, we changed that. Any of that information that can be gathered and communicated builds our level of confidence.
Got it.
And then we can communicate that to the lender to say, look, we know this guy, these guys, they gave us all this information. We're pretty comfortable that this house was done right and it's fine and it's a good piece of solid collateral for you guys. You're not going to have to worry about, a mold remediation problem coming down the line, necessarily. So any of that information is good information to us and to the lender.
Okay, so as we've talked before, it's never going to hurt to have all that information, but it's not necessarily going to be detrimental unless the lender says that it is. Right? I mean, that won't necessarily change your appraisal value. No. What it will do is just allow you a lot more confidence when you're handing that thing off to tell the lender we're good, as opposed to giving it without any of that going,
yeah, we don't know. So
okay.
We're hoping. So,
great.
And that'll a lot of that stuff will reflect in the quality of the home after the fact. If they go in and it's obvious that it was just kind of slapped together. Not done, you know. That kind
and
of
there's a lot with
direction.
all of our experience that we have our sixth sense is turned on. That I think, you know, like what we talk about, that when you know this person is going to be trouble when you walk in the door, they typically are. And just, I'm assuming when you walk into a structure of some sort that you kind of get the mojo of what's going on in there, and
you get a feel for it.
I got
absolutely do. It's not 100%, but that's when we start asking questions.
Sure.
And the other thing, just like with everything else, and I think most appraisers try to get agents in particular and sellers indirectly to understand don't hide from the truth. Don't hide from the information. If it flooded, tell us it flooded, and we'll deal with it, you know, because like I said, we've got this data and we're gathering all this all the time, and to look at it and to make the lender understand that yes, there was a flood, there was 4 feet of water, there was 4 inches of water, whatever, it was repaired, it was done, we're back running, you know, we're back where we need to be.
You don't consider that. I mean, if you just say it was done, and here's the repairs that were done, everything's good.
It tends to go away at that point.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Or it leads them or us to a question that needs to be answered.
Sure.
Because we want to answer those questions about the collateral before they become problems, not after they become problems. Well, there was an electrical issue and they had this and that. Okay, now we can look at that. We can figure out whether or not that issue that was reportedly handled by the seller, well, okay, he said he fixed it, but man, we're looking at the work that was done, and okay, well, maybe we want to go ahead and have an electrician come out there and pass judgment on it anyway, and it's a big pain in everybody's backside to do it that way. It scares all the buyers and sellers, and we understand that, but better that happen than close the loan, have it burned down.
Got it.
And then they're knocking on Remax's and my appraisal office's door wanting to know why. And so let's find those things out right away, and we'll deal with them up front and make them go away.
Good.
So,
okay. Well, let me say this. I want to say thank you for coming in early morning. I know you have a busy day.
Appreciate the opportunity.
If you're anything like us, it's gotten very tense out there. The role of all the players between contract and close is now 100,000 times more important than just getting the contract on the house, and how that's handled and the smoothness by which it goes. So it sounds like to me a lot of the stuff that you're telling me is remove as many variables as you can with either documentation or the truth, and then move to the next person, because if we are getting a loan on the house, then that lender is going to be the one that's looking at everything, and definitely will help you maintain the best value based on the data that you're able to look at. Absolutely. So anyway, thank you very much for coming in.
Appreciate the opportunity. And
I thank you for spending time with us after the storm, and spending time with us now, and creating basically your own show here. So that's nice. So anyway, thank you very much,
Keith,
Charlie. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys. Boom. Or